Hi, I'm Gary Mehigan.
I've never visited Sri Lanka, so my impression of Sri Lankan cuisine is from Sri Lankan friends, Sri Lankan restaurants outside of Sri Lanka. And I've got plenty of friends that are Sri Lankan. In fact, one of the things I ever learned to cook was from a Sri Lankan chef friend of mine, Ashan Wijayathan. And actually, even now, I've just spoken to a local chef here called Gary Mehigan, who has just won a couple of hats in the Age Good Food Guide for both of restaurants that he's the executive chef for. And he does lots of versions of, Sri Lankan inspired dishes. But what I can't wait for is to actually come to Sri Lanka and eat it in a what they call perfect time and place. So I'm not an expert on Sri Lankan food. Like I said, I'm looking forward to coming over and eating as many different dishes as possible, whether they're in a restaurant or on the street side, or whether somebody cooks, some home cooked food for me. But obviously there's that kind of great trail of spice, that was part of the spice trade, the Silk Route, that transfer of ideas through, Malaysia, India, Indonesia. I mean, all of those influences, as well as, European influences. I've traveled extensively through India, south as well, through Kochi and Chennai and down to Tamil Nadu. There's a connection, through that spice trail, that trade that, connected the whole of Southeast Asia with, Europe and the Middle East over hundreds of years, So I love that kind of historical, connection across Southeast Asia. And so many dishes are, recognizable, when you travel. It's like, string hoppers are, appam or ili appam, or, roti bread in all its, wonderful guises that you can see, all across Southeast Asia, Malaysia, India, Sri Lanka. So, yeah. And obviously, local cuisines are influenced by so many different things, ingredients, weather, what they've been touched by, the immigrant populations too. So yeah, I don't know if I'm answering the question, but it's part of the fascination of food. It's this wonderful kind of journey and connection that we all have. Well, I've been looking forward to coming for many years, so I want a bit of a holiday too. I want to experience some of your beautiful beaches and hinterland, some of the I want to go up. I'm going up to Kandy, hopefully a ride on the railway and elephant safari. I want to lie on a beach somewhere and drink a cocktail, and I want to eat some delicious food. The beauty of social media is it's easy to connect now. So if you're looking for foodies, all you've got to do is go foodies Sri Lanka, foodies Colombo, great food, hashtag great food Colombo, and you'll find it in a flash. So I think, I always, whatever city I go to, for example, when I travel around the world, I always tend to book a walking tour or a half day food tour to see the markets, eat some street food, and get a sense of a place. And I'm also looking forward to, from a professional perspective, digging in with the crew at, the Cinnamon Grand in Colombo, working with some lovely people. I mean, every dealing connection I've had with them so far has been wonderful, very creative, very can-do. And you always get a different experience working somewhere and working with people than you do if you're a tourist. So hopefully I'll get the best of both worlds. I left MasterChef Australia 4 years ago, but we also have to accept that we kind of, Matt, George and I, were the brand to some extent for many years. So, what people may be surprised to find out when they meet me is I'm exactly the guy that I was on television. I'm pretty easygoing. I love teaching people. I love food. I can talk about food for hours. And then from our dinners, people get to taste my food. Classic. A reflection of classic French training, classic kind of haute cuisine, French food, but interspersed and I suppose influence from a lot of my travels. Whether that's in Europe, Italy, Spain. In Southeast Asia. So we've got some beautiful local ingredients that we've kind of imbued with those flavors. Whether it's a mushroom parfait with Madeira jelly and truffles, or lagoon crab with a, Thai-style banana blossom coriander salad with naan and crispy fish, or seared tuna with caponata, basil emulsion. local lobster with olive oil, poached lobster, and bouillabaisse sauce. So lots of. I never try and compete with local flavors. So you're not going to catch me cooking Sri Lankan food, but what you'll catch me doing is using, I daren't, people would criticize me, but what you'll get is big flavors, generous flavors, honest flavors, and hopefully sophisticated too. I always consider my time on MasterChef. I've never even used to watch myself on TV. I always found it quite awkward, and actually when MasterChef started, funny enough, I would be working all day and I'd come home and I could hear my voice on the television and I'd go, turn it off, because my family were watching MasterChef and I just filmed for 12 hours listening to my own voice. So the kind of food TV I watch, and even the kind of food TV I make post MasterChef, tends to be a lot more a narrative travel based. I'm constantly surfing YouTube and looking at, the Food Network, looking for food programs that take me to places I've never been, or dig into recipes that, I've not seen before, or I want to relearn how to cook or re-energize and inspire myself. So, they tend to be things, I love Rick Stein, for example. He's a great narrator, a great traveler, a great foodie. I love, Chef's Table, because it takes you around the world to some of the best restaurants in the world. So rather than kind of competition-based reality television, I like the kind of more serious foodie, driven programming, which is not to say that I didn't love MasterChef for every moment of the years that I did it.
Yes.
But we were, the three of us were very lucky. We occupied we probably had the best jobs in the world. We occupied a very special space in television in Australia and around the world for a long time. And I was pleased to hand the baton over. And now, for example, the new judges have been announced for the up and coming series, and I'm thrilled that Poe and Andy are on this year. I don't know Christophe Nouvelli. I know I'm trying to Levin. I'm trying to remember her first name now. I've got an absolute brain blank. I've met her a couple of times, so I think it's a really good lineup, and I think it'll re-energize the show and take it to another level. It's a different generation of people are watching it. The last season that the three of us were in, we knew that the next season was going to be All Stars, which was what the new judges filmed, which was all the returning contestants, people like Poe and Sarah Todd. And somebody said to me, did you not miss that in any way? And I said, no, because I had unique one-off experiences with those people. And I grew to love them. I've stayed friends with them. And I don't think I would have felt right, judging them again. Imagine me judging Poe or Sarah Todd or any number of those contestants when they'd left the kitchen 10 years before that and had forged careers, independently of MasterChef, and had literally become colleagues in the industry rather than contestant-judge relationships. So I was really pleased I didn't do it, because I didn't want to be in a position where I was judging them again and trying to recreate that unique one-off experience that I had, that we shared together. And I cherish those times very, very much. But I don't have, I'm the kind of guy, and Matt's the same, George is the same. When life, gives you a new path, you take it. You don't want to double back and go back the same way. I'm 57 years old, so I've worked very hard. I've been in the industry for 35 years plus. I've been a chef, a restaurateur. I've been on television, and I've got a philosophy that I've followed for a few years now, which is follow the joy. And I only say yes to projects that I genuinely want to do. And I'm lucky enough in life to be in a position where I can do that. So when Cinnamon Hotels rings up and says, hey, do you want to come over and do a couple of events? I go, ooh, that'd be interesting. I'd love to do that. Whereas other things, I just go, no, it's fine. So, I've been filming for National Geographic around India this year. So I've filmed a series called India's Mega Festivals. So I've filmed 8 episodes of that. I'm a regular podcaster. I've got an food outlet opening at Melbourne Airport in December, which is a fun kind of Southeast Asian concept, everything from banh mi to okonomiyaki and pho. So lots happening there. I'm involved in a home delivery system called Providor, which launched last week with probably 8 of the best chefs in Australia. And I'm involved with a food platform and company, educational platform in India called Konosh. And we're doing many events. We did lots of events this year, lots of collabs, one in Dubai. We've got plans for South Africa next year, Dubai again, a few more visits to India. So there's kind of a global kind of creep happening there, which is lovely to see. So I'm pretty busy. I was in Italy recently, in Tuscany, and a wonderful home cook called Delfina, who was the chef cook at one of the properties I was staying at. By special request, you could order a local free-range chicken and she would cook it over the coals, and she would serve it with vegetables from the garden and pickles and preserves that she'd made. And it was just absolutely one of the most delicious things I've eaten for a long time. And on the face of it, when I tell people it was just chicken and vegetables, they're like, what? But some people have magic in their fingers. You know, they can take something ordinary and make it extraordinary. So it can be anything like that, and it's time and place. You know, it was free-range chicken, beautiful olive oil, you know, from the groves around the property, beautiful vegetables, beautiful aromatics, and simply cooked. Or it could be in a little, I don't know, like sushi bar in Tokyo, you know, sitting up on a stool, not speaking the language, using a bit of mime and body language to get what you want, and watching a cutter, you know, somebody that's an expert in what they do, prepare something individually for you over and over again that just blows your mind. So yeah, I could just keep listing those, you know, could be anything. I think that's the pleasure of being in the industry for such a long time, is I've eaten in some of the best restaurants in the world. I've eaten some of the best street food in the world. And I take them as individual experiences, and I remember them. They're joyful and delicious and wonderful in that moment. Somebody once asked me, they said, what would you be if you weren't a chef? And I said, sad.